PJ Net Live, the second half is about to be underway. We have a bumper rolling. We have a background installed. We are streaming on every platform. We'll be ready to switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the second half of PJ Net Live. For those of you who joined us for the first half, we just heard from Stephanie Robertson of SweetGumLife.com. What a fine Southern young woman. She's young, really. And it's time for part 2, and here we have the cover of a book that you have never seen before, called Having Impossible Faith, by the man that wrote the book on having impossible faith, Dell Didway, joining us once again. Dell, I made a mistake. You did not write the book on having impossible faith. God did.
Right.
But yes, you wrote a commentary.
Yeah, I wrote a 50,000 commentary.
You know what you need to do, Dale? You need to get busy and write more. I think we're just going to put a standard, we're going to just put it in your opening bumper that you have a new book coming out. How many books this year have you introduced?
This year before 4 launches.
Gosh.
So it's been a crazy year.
Now, I saw on Facebook you're having like a launch party of some kind Monday night.
Yeah, we're going to have a little get-together Monday night at a little local pizza place that I like. And we've had a lot of interest in that. And just a way to get together, just launch it locally. Some folks can come out because a lot of them know the story. And we're calling it a little celebration, a little launch celebration. We'll have dinner for them. We'll have some pizza for them to eat and just visit with them. And folks want to come out and visit, they can. They can come out and have dinner. They don't have to buy the book, but it'd be nice if they did. So, we'll have a few of them there, and had a call yesterday. Somebody wants 30. So they want me to hold 30 of them back. So that's kind of exciting. So, get a little bit of play on it, but it's a good story. It's a good, it's a really different look at faith and how people struggle sometimes with it, and then how to cope with it.
Well, this book, which I haven't read it, but I've certainly heard, you've talked about this book, I believe, on a previous occasion here. Mm-hmm. But this is more, how could I characterize it? A case study of 3 cases that it called for extreme faith.
Yeah, it does, and I know them all. It's all local. Didn't really set out, and this is what really launched my writing journey was this manuscript, because my wife suggested I write about it, and so I did, and it kind of just ballooned off and took off, and didn't really have any plans for it, but it turned into a manuscript, and then that's when I reached out to Michelle, who I did not know, on LinkedIn, and she reached back out, and we just started discussing, and that's how I ended up at Writers' Conferences, and that's how I ended up with all these book launches, was because of this manuscript that I wrote. I didn't know what to do with. So, it just kind of blossomed.
You pitched this to some people early on, didn't you?
Yeah, we originally pitched it about 3 years ago. So, writers, if you're out there, you don't have to work published, be patient on it. So it's all good timing. So it's been pitched to numerous publishers. So it's not bad. If people reject it, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not a fit for them. And I get that. You don't take it personal. You just try to find the fit. But it was pitched and to several, and it just wasn't the right timing. So it's coming out now, and we're happy with it, and we like the way it looks. And it's been edited, rewritten a few times. So you just got to be patient. And it'll happen, but it's a local regional story with about 3 real people, and I didn't exaggerate any of these stories. They're all real stories, and it deals with 3 people, but also how the people around them were affected, and by their struggles and by their circumstances, not just, and it's not a everybody's happy book either. Um, there's some tragic moments. There's some things you may not understand, but that's what it deals with. It deals
It's
with,
life.
yeah, it deals with real life and questions. Why do good things happen to bad
Bad
people?
people. Or
And
why do bad
things
things
like
happen
that.
happen to good people?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Dale, I don't doubt the truth or the sincerity of your statement that the timing matters. But could I entertain an idea that this was your first book, you were unpublished, and your career has taken off like a meteor? Now, all of a sudden, Dale Didway's writing is more marketable. Could that possibly have anything to do with it?
oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just all timing. So, yeah, I was a nobody knew who I was when I first went to my first writers conference, and I mean a lot of folks still don't know who I am, and that's fine. I mean I'm not out there to be on the headlines, but yeah, it possibly could be some validity to that, but um,
Well, and it was a
I
regional
still get
book
rejections.
in some ways too,
Yeah.
and that takes a little bit more. That's a headwind you're running against.
Well, yeah, and it was also initially mislabeled as a memoir, and it's not a memoir because memoirs are tough to sell unless you're somebody famous.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it was categorized, even though it wasn't a memoir. So it's a book about faith and people's struggles with faith, and I happen to use three people's lives to get my point across that bad things are going to happen to good people, and it's how you deal with them and because things can happen that can rock your world. And do you have faith? I mean, I pointed out one of the stories about Lois in the book, about her praying for the egg.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't. Could you? You're a man of faith. Could you sit down and pray for an egg and believe it was
And
going
believe
to
it.
appear?
I could
Yeah.
pray.
I don't.
Now
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could.
I could pray.
And so,
But
yeah, I could
the
pray.
believing it part, Dell, in your blog today, I was very impressed, and it was so well written at delldidway.com. Because one of the arguments, or one of the statements, or axioms that I put forth when we get into a discussion about faith is there's this notion out there as well, I just don't have that kind of faith. Your blog did a great job of making points I've been making for years. Everybody has faith. They have enormous faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Just to, what it's in. I mean, I think you're alluding to the point that we'll drive over a bridge and not worry about if it's going to fall in or not. We have faith that we're going to get to the other side. We
You
have
don't know
faith
the
when we take a
architect?
prescription.
You don't
Yeah,
even
we
know
have
when
no
that.
idea who built that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and you're, when you take a prescription, I mean, how much do you know? Especially today. I mean, they're finding out now that things that we were commonly done years ago kind of had some adverse consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in the pharmaceutical business, but still, they'll take that piece of paper to, a pharmacy and talk to somebody they may not know, and they'll hand them a bottle, and they'll take it because they think it's going to make them better. They have faith it's going to make them get better.
Right.
So that's faith. People have faith every day. They just take it for granted.
Yeah. So
but that's faith of man.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we customarily and summarily exercise enormous faith. I think having a prescription filled is a great example, because if they get it wrong, you could die.
Yeah, the old movie "It's a Wonderful Life," where George Bailey, goes back and he stops the pharmacist from making a mistake, and if he had not been there, that pharmacist would have killed somebody. So yeah, but then in the spiritual aspect, we can't see God. We can't. You open the door and there He is, so we don't see it. We don't. But these people had tremendous. These three people in there had tremendous faith, and it inspired, like my sister-in-law, inspired a whole. I don't want to say a community. It was a statewide rally that people knew about it. I mean, when the coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes weighs in on it, and guys like Big Daddy Weave who get wind of it and follow and send messages. This took I call it a revolution that happened that happened because of her faith, and people followed her faith and followed her story. So, it's something that I would love for everybody to order a copy, because obviously I have an interest. But it's a story, as my friend Karen Peck, if you saw the video in the blog, Karen's, if you follow Southern gospel music, Karen's as big a name as you ever find. Dove Award winner, multiple Dove Award winner, Grammy nominated singer. I got her a copy of the book, and she said, you got to read this. You have to read this book. So because it made her cry in a good way, and that made me feel good, because that's the whole intent, is to shine a light on something. Not everything's great. There are going to be problems, but you can portray an image and a message of hope, even if it doesn't go your way.
I basically, Dell, have two keynote speeches. I hope that Serious Writer will contemplate having me as a keynote speaker. But one of them is kind of related to this subject. Dell, the game that I replay in my head almost every day, we lost that game 52-0. And I go through the theme that keeps coming back is you can be at your best when things are at their worst. And I don't care who you are in life, you're going to be 52-0. It may be in a family relationship. It may be in your marriage. It may be in your finances. It may be in your professional work. But sooner or later, you're going to be handed a 52-0 loss. All good teams, all championship teams lose ball games, but there's a big difference in how they handle those losses.
Yeah, I don't think you're referring to the Bengals either. But
they need to figure out how to reverse that.
So everybody's going to be dealt a loss, and in this book, not every story I account has a happy ending. So there are some bad stories, and it's how people dealt with it and how they overcame. One of the chapters deals specifically with just how people overcame their disappointment. And a lot of them were frustrated with God, saying, "How could you allow this?" And they questioned their belief. Is God real? Why would this happen? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, even my assistant pastor said he was rocked for like 4 or 5 days. He was like questioning, is this real? Because of the gravity of the impact that says, we prayed and asked, and we just don't understand it. But then, and how they got back to where they needed to get back to. And, so it does, but the whole story is a inspirational story. But not every story has a good ending.
Mm-hmm. One of my criticisms, and I love what the Kendrick Brothers are doing. I applaud them. But one of my criticisms is in every movie, everything just turns out so good. Just turn to Jesus and accept Him, and everything's going to be just fine. Yeah. Well, folks, I got news for you. When you turn around your life and accept Jesus, trouble is only beginning. If you are effective at all, okay, you are going to have a big target on your back, and Satan doesn't like that. Question, Dale, does your book just tell the story, or does it try to show some remediation and application for the reader, or is it just kind of a documentary?
Actually, it's a little bit of both. I mean, each person that I described or give an account to has 3 chapters, and at the end of each section, there's a little commentary, I guess you call it, or summary. Mm-hmm. And then the last chapter is, it's more personal, because I give an account of something that was bizarre that happened to my wife, and how I was challenged with my faith, and then I challenge the reader, or I give them my overall message on all three accounts, and then my personal account too. So I challenge the reader and to do some things and to have faith, even though it can be tough at times. But I think every account gives. I try to give a way that they can have faith too, because they're going to get knocked down. I don't know. I hope not to the extent that these other people were, but they were challenged. And you're right. Once you make that determination, I've been attacked, not to this extent, but I've had my challenges and had my low points, and but nothing like this. So I also look at it and think, you know what, it's not this bad. My life's not this bad. So I kind of look at it that way too, because Lois, one of the characters in the book that prayed for the egg, one of her pastors told me, they said they would love to have her faith, but they would not want to go through what she did
to get it.
Yeah.
Got a couple of questions, got a couple of comments. I have some questions too.
Yeah, fire away.
From the chat room.
Oh.
Tammy says, quote, "I have to have that book. Gonna buy myself an early Christmas gift."
That's sweet of her.
From Doug, yes, Dale posted a very, very good blog today. And on it goes. Now, a couple of things that came to my mind, kind of reflecting on your blog today. I see a lot of sort of a thin smokescreen or a thin veneer of what I call church speak. When people are going through hell on earth and they just say, well, God is good all the time. That seems rather absurd to me, and seems something akin to sticking one's head into the sand and denying the reality of the hell they're going through.
Yeah, I think they try to sugarcoat it. I mean, God is good all the time, but there are some bad times you go through, and you have to try to look up. One of the pet peeves I have is, when somebody passes that's young or whatever, or who's been battling illness, and they say, and I get this statement, but I don't like it, is, well, they got their ultimate healing.
Yeah.
I understand it. I don't like that, because I think it's a cop-out sometimes. You're trying to make yourself feel better, because, if a lady or a man who passes away when their son or daughter's a senior in high school, that child needs them.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, they were healed in the ultimate way. Yes, I get it. I understand it. But that doesn't make the hurt any better. It's just to make themselves feel better.
That's a theological truth that does little to comfort,
Except the person who says it.
Yeah. I think you hit it. Yeah. That's what that is. That's
They'll
for
make
the
themselves feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Theologically true.
We address that too.
Yeah,
it is true, but I think sometimes it's best left unsaid.
Yeah. And the other thing that came to my mind is, people double down. And when you get in a crisis like this, you're not only in a crisis in a physical sense, you're in an experiential sense or an existential sense. You are actually in a spiritual crisis. You're at a crossroads. You've got to because things are not working out. You've got to put your faith either in God, and people find that hard sometimes. But if you don't put your faith in God, what choice is left?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there is no other choice left. And
you can put your faith in man, in medicine. I mean.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I know. You're right. But one good example of that is, of course, I kind of gave it away, but because I posted a picture of Billy in the book. I'll tell a little bit about it. Billy, when I first met him, I didn't know him. He came into our church about 15, 16 years ago. He was yellow. I mean, he was dying.
Jaundiced, yeah.
He was green. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh my gosh. And so he was given 4 months to live. Of course, that was 15, 16 years ago. But what he went through after his healing was even harder. And that's a little teaser, but what he went through, I would never want to go through. I'd rather go through the cancer. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So that's a good teaser. You got me curious now.
Yeah. So his world was rocked after he made just like you said, once you make that profession, you're going to get attacked. after his profession, he was more than attacked. He was Pearl Harbored. So, but he's still around. He's still here and still a friend of mine. So it's a very compelling book. Everybody who read it had one reader sent a sticky note back on one of it, and it was kind of smeared, and she said she just kept crying. She just kept crying through it. So I hope that's good. But and just what Karen said, the whole book made her cry in a good way. So I think the overall goal was to have an impact, and I hope this has an impact, and I hope this makes people look at faith in a different way, other than everything's good, everything's great, everything's hunky dory. You're going to have problems.
We're out of time, and I really did want to kick around Copernic tonight, but we don't have time, Dale. Let's.
Oh no, we'll do that next week. I don't give him any more airtime.
He's sick. He's a coward. Anyway, all right. Well, yes. Dale, you are an inspiration to us all. Thank you so much for taking your time out to share with us.
It's there. So we're happy with it. We're happy with it. It's on Amazon. You go to my website too. I'm not trying to plug. I'm saying people want it, and if people want it and they want me to sign, and they get it on Amazon and they want me to sign it. If it listens, send me a note through Twitter, and if I don't respond, send me another note, because I get about 20 to 30 messages on Twitter a day, and sometimes I'll lose track of them. So just stay on me about it. But I'll be glad to do that.
Don't hire me as your handler, because I'm the same way. I'm the worst. And if I didn't have people around me like Sunbelt Girl, helping, I literally tonight double book somebody for next Tuesday. I literally had two people, and she said, no. It's like, oh, thank God for the PJNet team. Everybody here contributes in some way or another, and I appreciate it so much. Dale, you are we're very fortunate to have you, Dale. Appreciate it, and appreciate your faithfulness, and just thank you for all that you're doing, not only here on PJNet Live, but for the kingdom of Christ. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Mark.
Dale Didway, right here on PJNet Live. What a privilege it is to have a strong team. We've got some real hard hitters, folks, and I'm just bursting with pride. We're at the 23-minute mark. Let me just say briefly, we are booked with people that are new coming on board. Maybe Barbara can give you a little hint in the chat room for those of you that have joined us live at patriotjournalist.com. We've just got one after another. We'll have 2 tomorrow night. We'll have 2 on Monday night, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. And we're starting to get a backlog. Folks, it's happening, and it's because, well, it's a God thing, but it's you. Because you are paying attention, you're faithful, you're here. Thank you. I really mean it. Thank you for joining us here. It means a lot, not only to me, but it means a lot to the kingdom, because we're exalting and praising God here. Now, I did buy a new toy today. It's called a gimbal. It's a camera stabilizer. Can't wait. That'll come in Thursday, because at the next conference we're going to have handheld cameras going around, and this thing's stable. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. And I had to do a lot of research, as I do, to find the right one, because you can get them for $60 and you can get them for $2,000 or $3,000. So there's obviously a difference. Anyway, that's the announcement. I can't wait for the next conference. As far as I know, March is the next conference with Serious Writer. But I can't wait to bring out the new toys and make PJNet Live better and better and better. Until then, we will continue in the chat room with some more videos. Thanks for joining us right here on PJNet Live. Dale, you got to see this toy I got.